Welcome back. An outbreak of bird flu is spreading in the U.S. On top of 3 farm workers contracting the virus, more and more cattle continue to get sick. According to the USDA, 101 herds across 12 states have tested positive. And this might not be the whole picture. Farm testing for bird flu has covered just a small fraction of the 9 million dairy cattle across the United States. The concern is if this bird flu continues to spread among mammals, it could eventually mutate and spread from human to human and possibly becoming the next pandemic, words that you probably don't want to hear. Our country's top doctor, former CDC director, Dr. Robert Redfield, says it's not if a bird flu pandemic will happen, but when it will happen, and he joins me now. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us. You know, I'm scared of my own shadow, so I'll start with that. But I do have a basic understanding, and viruses want to survive. They want to mutate. They want to get stronger. Isn't that what it's doing right now?
Yeah, right now, I think since 2019, we've had a progressive epidemic of bird flu in birds, initially chickens and turkeys. It's hard to imagine, but so far there's over 100 million turkeys and chickens infected in the United States. Now, that has extended, unfortunately, over the last 5 years, and now we have over 25 different mammal species in the U.S. that are also infected, and most recently, as you mentioned, cattle. And this is problematic because what happens for bird flu is it will stay away from being a human pathogen in a pandemic as long as it doesn't learn how to bind to the human receptor. But when it goes into these other mammals, it starts changing and, as you pointed out, mutating. And it's just really a matter of chance when it may mutate to the point that it can now bind to the human receptor. But as you point out, with all these different animals that it's in, dolphins and seals and polar bears, it's learning how to get into new mammals. And I'm a little particularly concerned about cattle because historically flu learns how to get into humans frequently in its relationship with pigs. And cows live around pigs, and there's a real chance for recombination of this bird flu as it gets into, particularly if it gets into pigs, that it may gain greater tropism for humans.
Are you scared?
No.
Why not?
Because I have a lot of confidence in the power of science to respond to this pandemic. I think what I'm more trying to get people to understand is to get prepared. I'm of the point of view, and you saw the news the other day that Russia and North Korea were forming an alliance. I'm of the point of view that the greatest national security threat that we have in the United States is biosecurity, not China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. And part of that biosecurity threat is the evolution of these viral pathogens. The one I'm most concerned about is bird flu. I've been concerned about it before I was CDC director. I'm concerned about it now. There is a huge species barrier between birds and humans, though. There's 5 amino acids that have to change for the receptor to gain the ability to infect the human receptor. That's a huge barrier. Now, in nature,
but we're seeing the virus conquer those barriers in real time,
It's conquering it for certain mammals and one mammal at a time.
Right.
My biggest concern is not the natural spillover, even though that's a possibility. I have a greater concern about doing this research in the laboratory where scientists are intentionally changing the virus so that it can infect humans.
You know, when you talk about being prepared, what does that look like? What does someone like me, I mean, you have people who don't have a ton of faith in authorities these days when they tell them how to prepare. What do you say?
Yeah. Well, I think more of it is on a national thing. I say that we need to have a biosecurity plan that's proportional to the threat. So when you think about our Defense Department, we have almost a $900 million, $1 billion a year Defense Department to challenge the threat of China, North Korea, Russia, and Iran, for example. We don't have any system to really counter the threat. So we need to heavily invest in antiviral technology and developing new antivirals with the private sector. We need to invest in vaccine technology, diagnostic technology. We need to invest in protective device technology. We need to invest in the equipment that we know we're going to need.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.